Hey, welcome back to Friends in Austin. I'm your host, Justin, and I just wanted to cover a few quick things before we get this episode kicked off. One, I wanted to let everyone that is new to the podcast know what it is. Well, it's an Austin podcast. It's all about the people of Austin, Texas, and kind of just what's going on in the city. So you can expect to hear from people like the CEO of the Austin Chamber of Commerce was on talking about Prop A, Project Connect, property taxes, the homeless problem, and how the city's dealing with these kinds of things. I've sat down with musicians like Amir Nubach of the Genders who play all over the place in Austin, and I've sat down with the CEO of the Austin Habitat for Humanity, a nonprofit you've probably heard of, and all kinds of interesting people like that, real estate agents, everything. So if that's something you're interested in, please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast player so you get those regular updates, and that helps us as well. And then subscribe on, I like YouTube a lot. I know it's not like the main source of podcast playing. I mean, I use it for that, but most people don't. But I like YouTube. Please subscribe on YouTube and hit the notification bell. And check out our website, friendsinAustin.com. I've been doing a lot of work on that site lately. I'm primarily actually a software developer. So I'm going to release, some cool updates and some cool stuff on the site and try to make it more interactive and have something to do there other than just watch the podcast. So please check that out. My guest today is Michael Devellano, and I'm going to tell you a little secret. He's from California. I know that there's a stigma around people from California moving to Austin, but honestly, Michael is one of the nicest, just most genuine, really cool people that I've met. So if he's a great example of the people from California moving here, then I'm not worried. And I really hope you enjoyed this conversation with Michael. He has an organization called Founders Pack. So he's really all about kind of networking people together and getting founders to learn from each other. And he talks a lot more about that on the podcast and explains really the whole thing behind it. But his website is founderspack.io. I've been attending these virtual events that he's been hosting on AirMeet Thursdays at 6 p.m. It's a really cool place to come and meet some other Austin founders. So if that's something you're interested in, come sit down and chat with us and check out his website, founderspack.io. He'll explain more of that in this upcoming podcast. Last thing I want to cover, sorry. This was our first Clubhouse live recording, so I'm surprised a lot of Clubhouse. I didn't know what Clubhouse was 2 weeks ago, but now it's like all over the place. So if you don't know what it is, it's just an application that you can get on your phone, and there's a bunch of different rooms you can go into, and you just sit down and you can listen to people. It's just all audio. You just sit in. There's no video. You can jump in and out of rooms. People are talking about different things. You can follow things that you're interested in. And it seems to like it will be a good platform for podcasts. So I don't do this podcast live. It's produced, everything else. But I'm going to start doing every podcast. I believe, I could change my mind on this, but I'm thinking we're going to start doing every podcast on Clubhouse. I'll just set my phone on the table. We'll go live. You can listen in live if you want to. If the guest is cool with it, we'll do some Q&A after, and you can get some interaction with these people that are coming in here. My Clubhouse handle, I think, is just at Justin Talent. I'll put it up on the screen in case I'm wrong. And we don't have a club on Clubhouse yet for Friends in Austin because you have to use the app for a while for them to say, hey, you can start a club now. But if you just start out by following me, I'll put every podcast event on so you'll know when it's coming and you can listen on Clubhouse and maybe get some chat in with the guest. And I think that's really all I had to cover. So I won't talk anymore. Let's go ahead and get this episode started. And thank you again for listening. I appreciate it. So I'm just going to kick it off. So, hey, welcome back to Friends in Austin. Today, my guest is it Michael Devellano? Am I saying that right?
That's pretty damn close. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's right.
What's the 100%? Or is it close?
Yeah,
or is that
Devellano, whatever.
Devellano.
It's usually Anno, but the truth is we don't actually have our real last name.
Oh, really? Why not?
So what I discovered was there's no single Devellano in Italy, which is where we're from. My great-grandfather, Mariano Pedivigliano, is his actual last name, sailed from Palermo in 1900.
Okay.
But upon reaching Canada, they renamed him because they couldn't understand him because he didn't speak English, right?
Oh, okay.
So several years into being a Canadian, he discovered that they had named him Mary Devellano. So he was like, hey, Mary is a girl's name.
That's funny.
So he changed it to Mike Devellano.
So you just moved to Austin, right? And you've got 4 houses. Am I not allowed to say that?
You can say I'm more than that, but yeah.
I want to talk about your real estate and stuff like that. And I also want to talk about, so here's the thing. I was spilled the beans already. Michael's from California. And so this is an awesome podcast. And I'm sure you know, and I've never really met a person individually that was like, I hate Californians and I don't like Californians. But like there's this, I don't know, information floating around online that are saying that Austinites don't like Californians because, you know, they're moving here and they're like causing the real estate prices to get higher, which in my opinion, the real estate prices are coming from everyone moving here. So it doesn't really make sense to me to single out California as a place of, you know, whatever. And then also Texas as a state, but not Austin, is very Republican and California is not. And so
red team, blue team.
Yeah. So I'm not critical of Californians or anyone really moving here, but I just think that's an interesting little thing that's going on here. Did you know about that?
Of course, yeah. I think it's pretty much in the zeitgeist. So,
yeah.
For me, I mean, I escaped the Maple Curtain, so I came to Canada.
Okay.
So I've been here for about 10 years, on and off, but now permanently. And actually, fun fact, I was sworn in as a citizen on the day Trump was elected.
Interesting.
So I honestly thought it was a practical joke, but it worked out.
Okay, so you moved to California first from Canada.
Somewhat, yeah. We've bounced around a little bit. My wife's work has taken us to Washington State, where we lived in Seattle for a while. We were in New York for a couple years, and then back to California. So we've kind of come full circle. And then I think the move to Austin is really just recognizing opportunity again. So we were kind of anticipating with the Tesla factory that there'd be opportunity. We have, you know, some investment properties, bought another one here, which has turned out well. And then we bought a second one.
Mm-hmm. I want to back up a little bit to California first though. So, well, one, what does your wife do that's got you moving around?
Oh, she's a fairly important person at Chipotle.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. And they moved their head office to Newport Beach in California.
Okay. So you went to California and you were living in Newport Beach, and that was the first house in the United States that you got?
Oh, no.
Okay. Okay.
So definitely like 10 deep or something.
So California was moved based on careers and stuff like that. It wasn't like an active choice.
I mean, I'm pretty mobile. So my work I can kind of do from wherever. I'm primarily a Salesforce consultant, and I'll work as like a fractional CTO on app or SaaS projects, and I've done that for quite a while. So I can kind of be anywhere for that. My wife's got the important job. She's got the big corporate gig. So I just kind of follow wherever and try to be flexible. And then we both have an interest in properties that are pretty cool. So we've just kind of played Monopoly as we moved around.
Yeah. I mean, I think real estate is a great thing to get into. And a lot of people, renting properties has just always made sense to me. It's like, you just get a loan if you have to get a loan, and then just someone pays it off for you. And then you sell it later. It's not a bad model at all. And you sell it later.
I feel fairly inadequate though, because a new friend of mine, Bobby Sharma, it turns out he's got like, I should look up the exact number to be accurate, but it's like over 1,200 doors, as they say.
Oh, wow.
I think it's way more than that, actually. I'm underestimating because I think I saw a bigger number, but actually I can probably look it up.
Yeah.
Well, so now I have something to aspire to.
Yeah. So while you're looking at that, how was it living in California? How long did you live there? Because California's been all over the news, as has been Texas, but for different reasons.
California is a great place to live. There's nothing like it in the world, really.
Yeah.
I think people just get frustrated with maybe how things are run, and it's not the only place where there's opportunity. As a matter of fact, I think that they're probably actively chasing away businesses, big businesses, and entrepreneurs. And it's just, there's like a very idealistic way of looking at things that maybe isn't as, practical as maybe say Texas.
Mm-hmm. So you liked it. You think it's obviously really pretty. I've never lived there myself. So, and were you affected at all by the forest fires or any of the policies?
So we weren't affected by forest fires because we were quite south. Although I shouldn't say that, because in Orange County, where we live now, there were fires past Orange. So in the hills there were actually some pretty crazy fires someday, but the really bad stuff is quite north. But it's, it's a concern. I don't know. It is what it is. You live on the ocean, you live near mountains where there are trees, and bad things happen sometimes. Like all of Malibu burns down.
Yeah. And the fires this past 12 months or so, it's kind of like the worst that it's ever been, right?
I'm not sure about that, to be honest with you, but that was definitely a horrible, horrible fire, and a lot of people were affected, and people we know were affected, and it's not it's not a positive thing. Like, it was very destructive.
Oh, absolutely. So the people that that were affected, I mean, what did they do? Did they lose their whole house and insurance paid for it? And
I don't know about the insurance part, because I think a lot of I don't know the whole details of that, but definitely some people lost their homes, which is not fun, But I mean, people are resilient, right? Like, we've always had problems in the world, and people, I think, like nowhere else here in this country, people who look for opportunity are flexible. And when they face adversity, they realize at least, they have choices, and they don't have to look for someone to help them necessarily. They help themselves. So I think that's why a lot of people are attracted to the United States, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the same thing with Texas, because it's probably a more extreme version of that. Geographically, there's opportunity because of that. It's like, well, a little bit of Wild West, which we like. Not fraught without adventure or danger, but.
So what got you interested in Austin, and when did you start to get interested in Austin?
Yeah. So, I mean, the most recent, I think, was looking at, Joe Rogan moves here. He's a pretty practical guy. Tesla moves here. Elon Musk moves here. And you go, well, there's probably opportunity. And then Oracle and Samsung and everything else. So there's a lot of business opportunity. Plus, it's a great city, right? Just like,
yeah. And then
everybody loves barbecue. I love barbecue. I mean, what's not to love about barbecue? People are really, really super nice. I mean, we just had a recent kind of mess with Snowmageddon, which, by the way, was not very much snow, frankly, but
but none of it was plowed. It was just
none of it's plowed, right? Yeah. And you don't have the normal habits and infrastructure to deal with it. And whereas in Canada, I remember waking up as a kid, it's minus 45 Celsius, and you go, oh, it's too cold to snow, so you got to go to school.
Yeah.
I mean, we always prayed for like 7 degrees Celsius, -7, because then it would snow and there'd be a snow day, right?
That's pretty weird.
That's the things you'll.
So how did you go about then? Did you visit Austin and kind of look at some real estate and start?
It's pretty quick. Yeah.
Where did you look? Like, when you came, where did you look?
The initial property, I was focused on the east side. I was looking at near Oracle. I was looking at near where I anticipated the Tesla factory was going to be built. So we bought one place on the east side and rented that out. Great house, very inexpensive compared to California. I mean, significantly. Like, if you look at the dollars per square foot, it's probably like a quarter of what we're used to paying.
It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, and it's a great house. It's like 4 years old, new construction. The area's, kind of maturing. There's obviously other parts of Austin that are maybe a little bit funkier and more shopping or more restaurants nearby, but for what it is, it's a great house, and we got some great tenants, and it's a great area. So I think that area is just going to get better. And then even thinking, I don't know if you know about Project Catalyst.
No, I don't.
So there's a thing called Project Catalyst that is shopping, industrial, retail.
So yeah, Project Catalyst.
So it's an interesting, it's just another data point, right? Which is there's this effort to build a big retail / office / mixed use area of like 90, I don't know how big it is. It's quite large off of Riverside and the east side. So you go, okay, that plus everything else. And then so after buying that, which we closed the first place in September and rented it out. And obviously there was a lot of chaos in the world here, but you kind of like try to see past that. We started looking for another place, which was more to be like a crash pad that we could live in. So we looked for a really cool house and found one about 3 days after Oracle announced they were moving their whole headquarters here. So that was like, oh, bonus. That's great. So I think those are just all, anticipating opportunity based on those things. Aside from that, I mean, Texas is great. People are great. And like I said, we were here during kind of a wacky time with Snowmageddon. Everybody was very nice. People had really stressful circumstances, right? We're in Target. People are very orderly, kindly emptying the shelves, There were no riots. Nobody burned anything down that I saw. People were nice to each other. They're helping each other. It was kind of crazy. So I think we noticed that. I mean, people in California are nice, but it's a different type of nice, I think, and it depends on your area.
Okay.
And a lot of people move to California from other places, right? So if you contrast the two, there's definitely a little bit of different type of nice, Not that people are mean there, but it's not like a homegrown nice. And there's something homey about here. It's kind of cool. And then you got like this really cool culture, right? So we're attracted to all those things. Great restaurants, lots of arts, lots of startup action. So yeah, lots of good stuff.
I mean, you're clearly into startups and everything else, right?
Absolutely. So as you know, I started something called Founders Pack.
Yeah, I was going to say thank you for featuring me on the last one of Founders
Yeah,
Pack.
it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining us. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the first one that you did, or that I went to, I had never used AirMeet before, and it's funny, I was telling you because my friend Kevin Newsom was on the podcast, was telling me about AirMeet, and he's somehow working with them. This was months ago, and then. Cool. But he was describing it, and he's like, yeah, it's a startup out of India doing video conferencing. And I was just like, this sounds like it's going to suck. Plus also like Zoom already exists. Like what are these people doing? But then I got on it and I was like, oh, okay.
It's actually not bad.
Yeah, it's actually really cool. They did a good job.
They did a pretty good job. Like there's a few of those platforms, like there's Spatial Chat. And then there's another one that I'm blanking on the name of that's very, very similar, but it's pretty good. And what's funny is if you ever need customer support from them, they provide customer support through AirMeet. Okay. So you basically enter a conference where you go to a table where there's a technical support person. And for anyone that hasn't used AirMeet, you can join us on a Thursday at Founders Pack Happy Hour on 6:00 Austin time. And it looks like a virtual conference center or a virtual networking group because there's tables and you can click a table and you open up essentially like a Zoom room and you just meet other people and talk to them.
Yeah, and then you can move around into different tables.
Move around, right? And then we can take over and do like a webinar, or not a webinar, I guess they call it a session.
Yeah.
And that's what we did with Justin, where we featured him and he could talk about this amazing podcast that he started. So
appreciate that. So what made you want to do that? I mean, yeah. And also I was just like, wow, there was quite a few people. And I mean, yeah, just where'd all that come from?
So I had this crazy idea, which is there's this example that people have missed from history called the Keiretsu. And so I've had this thing in my head for a while that people need to look at this as an example for digital businesses. And it's a conglomerate model out of Japan. And so I started writing a book called Form Your Own Pack. And it's really saying, hey, look back to World War II when Japan was in ruins. And the Keiretsu was very central to the economic miracle of Japan. And it had some really interesting characteristics of the Keiretsu. It's a conglomerate model. So you see these companies that you know very well, like Mitsubishi, Sumitomo, Matsushita, which is like Panasonic, even like Honda and Toyota have these like cooperative ventures, and all these vertically aligned companies that have shares in each other. So they have cross shareholdings, and the corporation's chairman meet every Friday for something called Lunch Club in secret, and they collaborate. So rather than fighting it out and duking it out, they look for ways to help each other. They'll even send each other engineering talent if they have problems. So to me, there was a lot of benefits to that. One being, if you look at Japan as a whole, I don't know if you know this, but they never go over 2.5% unemployment.
No, I did not know that. That's amazing.
Pretty crazy, right? It's a very, generally the Keiretsu do well in good times and they do well in bad times. So they smooth out the edges, and they normally form around banks, insurance company, and real estate trust. And then they have these trading companies that facilitate access and smooth the skids when they have problems. And so I write about this in Form Your Own Pack, which is being edited right now. And I thought, you know what, I need a way to work with startups and try to help them meet other founders. So founders meet other founders and investors and try to find people that would be in their Keiretsu. And that was really the motivation. So that's how I got to that.
That's a great story and a great motivation. I like it.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool idea, I think. And I think what we try to do really with the group is just provide a forum. We do the Thursday happy hours. We do monthly pitch events. We've done 3 winner takes all pitch events. And those are a little gamified where startups come in. Each one has a $100 entry fee, and then the winner takes the pot of $500.
Okay.
There's 5 companies. They pitch 3 judges, and then we try to keep working with them, try to help them in their journey. And usually they're pre-seed or seed stage.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, right?
Yeah, that would be fun to come and watch.
You're welcome to come. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can always check it out on YouTube. We record them and post them up. So it's kind of good exposure for the startups. And then my eventual goal is, what I've been saying is Founders Pack is a way for us to help 1 million startups over 10 years, somehow in some form, form scalable ventures. So that's really our mission.
Okay. How do you plan on making money on it?
Oh, Founders Pack itself?
Yeah.
Well, what I think is naturally happening out of that is we will probably launch an online accelerator, or probably like a no equity accelerator. The idea being that most companies we encounter have one of two problems. They don't have a product and they're building one, and they're either building the wrong thing or they need some help with that. There's a real shortage, I think, of technical co-founders, and not all of them are great either, right? So there's always a problem, I think, about what to build and how to build it. So we find companies that need help with that, and then there's others that just don't know how to get customers. So it's either one of those two problems or sometimes both. So what we want to do is do an accelerator that focuses on, this is what you should build, this is how you build it, and this is how we're going to go do it rapidly. So rapidly prototype, go talk to real customers.
Like validating the idea early instead
Absolutely.
of like putting a whole bunch of time and possibly money into something and then just be like, oh, no one came.
Exactly. Which is easier said than done, because I think there's a lack of comfort with that. It's easier to go pitch something and then have it fail, but you can blow a lot of time and money on that.
Hey, what's up, FI listeners? I just want to cut into this episode for a second and ask you guys to stop being so shy. I know that you guys are listening because I can see the analytics. So if you're listening to this episode on YouTube, please leave a comment. Just say your name and how long you've been in Austin, or just your name and what you do for a living, and say hi. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, and I think there's some ideas too that I could be wrong, but I feel like would be hard to validate, like Snapchat. Like when did they explain that to people? It's like, how do you explain that to people? It almost doesn't become what it is until, like, I don't know, it just gets
sometimes.
Yeah.
I wasn't inside on Snapchat, so I'm not sure what their journey was like. I mean, we've seen examples of, like, YouTube was originally a dating website, right?
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's
yeah.
crazy.
If you go back and you look at YouTube, you go, well, if they had stayed on that course, I mean, they built the right thing for the wrong reason, right? So was there validation there? Not of that, because nobody was using it to get a date.
Yeah. I love YouTube. YouTube's like probably like my number one tech thing that I like and use.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's challenging as a creator sometimes, although you've done fairly well. I noticed you've been building up some attention, which is awesome.
Or if you look at the charts of where like you're supposed to be, people basically can like predict where you'll go just like on how often you release, and so we're on that timeline.
And I think that's the thing about it. It's like a long game, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely
I think if you're impatient, then it's rough.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know about you. I'm kind of impatient.
Mm-hmm. And podcasting isn't really like, I know what like the YouTube creator model is. Podcasting is not really the YouTube creator model.
True.
So you can't expect to have the kind of success that someone is going to have. For example, like Noah Kagan and his channel,
Mm-hmm.
OK Dork, where it's based around how do I help people solve their business problems or create their own business. And he releases videos that have thumbnails that are high click-through rate because it's all engineered.
Right.
Like podcasting is like, it's harder to make clickbaity thumbnails. You can. But it's just not really the YouTube model, but it's still good to put your podcast on YouTube because it's a place people will listen to it. But I don't treat it really, it's primarily a podcast, but it's also on YouTube. You know what I mean?
I'm totally there with you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've got the Automate and Grow podcast, and
Mm-hmm.
it's there for a reason. It's
Mhm.
I'm not doing the right thing for the machine. The machine doesn't like me.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not doing the 10-minute video with the cool thumbnail.
Yeah.
And, making sure that I should,
Mm-hmm.
right? I should, just so that people lead to the other thing. So,
Yeah.
I'll probably be more disciplined. We've reached over 100 episodes on that now. So it's like, all right, well, at some point you stop pounding your head against the wall. It's great for me to meet cool people and talk to them,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe more people should see that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I probably at some point need to be disciplined about it. But
Yeah.
but to your point, it's just, I've been doing the same thing originally, right? It's
I
like you stick it up there. And
Yeah, for sure. I think for a podcast, like I am going to make a second channel that is, would just be clips, and then I could do a little more clickbaity thumbnails, and then you got a 3-minute video of someone talking about a specific thing that way, because you can't really make a clickbaity thumbnail for an hour session because so much stuff is going to get covered. It's not like the model for YouTube is like clickbaity thumbnail, but then deliver on what you clickbaited them into quickly, and then that's it. Yeah, and the podcast just doesn't match that format.
It doesn't. And wait, when you realize that as a creator, you look at your analytics and you go, why does this video only have 10% watch time?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas it's a lot easier to get 40% watch time or 100% if it's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So then you go, oh, light bulb. Okay, I got to start doing that thing.
Yeah, but I listened to 2 of your episodes of your podcast today, and I thought they were good.
Oh, really? Super. Thank you.
Yeah, I listened to the one about the blockchain guys that are trying to do the e-commerce with the blockchain.
Syscoin?
Yeah, Syscoin. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're kind of interesting. Canadian company, funny enough. My connection to them originally was one of the, I don't know if Sebastian, the others, there's 2 Sebastians. The one Sebastian's left and he's doing something else. But the Sebastian I know, we were actually at a startup early on in kind of the broadband space about 15, 20 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. It's a long time now. And it's just funny to see how he went from being kind of a customer support operational guy to suddenly, he's building a fork to Bitcoin, which is literally what Syscoin is. It's like it forked that tech. So it's interesting because I learned so much from that. I learned about what the heck blockchain even is. I learned about non-fungible tokens 2.5 years ago. Now I see an application for it because it's happening right before our eyes. But at the time they had the vision to understand, let's build the technology to enable that. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So they're basically building a whole e-commerce platform that's decentralized through blockchain, and then they can verify. I think some of the benefits they were saying, like you can see who bought what for sure, stuff like that.
Yeah. Smart contracts are still in there. NFT versus fungible tokens, so non-fungible versus fungible. They also had some characteristic that I thought was interesting of like interest-bearing coins.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a different take so yeah, you're right. I just learned a lot from that. I don't know about you, but it was like, I'm fascinated, and I kind of get to pick these smart guys' brains. And did you see who they nominated to be on the podcast?
No.
The founder of Ethereum.
Oh, really?
He's also, yeah. So I'm like, wait, did they just say Valteric Buterin? Like they did. So, I got to be a little more aggressive about following up on that, but that's who they nominated to be on.
Do it. Yeah.
Right.
That'd be a really interesting one for sure.
I think so.
So you were talking to me about NFTs the other day.
I have a really clickbaity title for your podcast episode that we do.
What is it?
Steve Aoki ripped me off for $5,000.
Who is Steve Aoki?
Oh, Steve Aoki is like one of the most famous EDM DJs in the world.
Okay.
Fun fact, his father was the founder of Benihana's.
Okay.
Interesting story there.
Did he really rip you off?
No.
Then where are we going with that?
Well, so the NFT that I bought today, which is the most expensive thing I've bought, it's a piece of digital art with some Steve Aoki music in it.
How much was it?
$5,000.
$5,000. Okay.
So I'm like, I did it really to learn, to be honest with you, about, I have a friend that's been paying attention to this stuff, and I've kind of ignored it. I honestly haven't paid attention. I'm not pushing anything, but it was interesting. It's a learning experience for me. I'm like, well, Steve Aoki's probably the biggest name yet to drop an NFT, which is taking a piece of music and visual digital art and putting a number on it.
What happened?
I bought it.
Okay. Yeah. So you bought it?
At what time is it now?
It's 4:15.
Yeah, probably about like 11:30 this morning. So
okay.
So now we wait and see. So what's happening with this? I don't know if you've been paying attention too much to it, but there was the first ever NF music release about a week ago with this artist named Blau. It's 3 LAU, and he's tied into Dylan Francis and Disclosure, and he's really big, I guess, into the blockchain tech. And what it does is he did $11.7 million in his NFT drop.
Jeez.
So do you think he needs a record label?
I don't know.
Absolutely not. Right? So artists are realizing that this is a way that they can bring in a significant amount of money by creating essentially collectible digital art and music. Because what the technology does, it lets them kind of serialize it, where it's like, this is a unique edition or piece of digital art.
So sorry, I got super distracted because
don't worry about it. We had bells and whistles going off on both sides of the table. So
yeah. So this $11 million, did he sell one for $11 million? Are you saying?
So if you look about a week and a half ago, the first music artist to do a album release using NFT was Blau.
Okay.
And he's a very well-known electronic music artist, so producer, DJ. He offered up essentially digital video content that was unique, which is only 33 people could bid on and own these 33 positions in owning this digital music with the video essentially.
Okay. So does he plan to then still sell the music later without the video, and what they get is this unique thing that's both?
I believe there would probably be that, right? So you could probably still buy his streams through your favorite streaming service, watch his YouTube. But then there's this unique piece that's almost like a Pokemon card.
Yeah.
It's like if this Pokemon card has a serial number on it and it has like an emblem that's like a hologram, it's unique. Nobody else has it. And then some are more rare than others. And that's exactly what this has done with digital music and art. And I think there's probably going to be so many other applications, but it's really interesting for those types of creators because, well, okay, look at NBA. Do you know NBA Top Shot? Have you paid attention to that?
No.
That's gone crazy. They've done like $300 million worth of clips. So when you watch a unique clip of, let's call it, LeBron James dunking.
Yeah.
But you could be the owner of that clip.
Yeah. Well, what I find really weird about
crazy.
What I find really weird about it is like, I don't fully understand it in that like you have a unique copy of this clip, but it's not really a unique copy. I mean, someone else could have that same clip on their computer, and if you played both of them, they would look the same, right? But they're unique in that like this one has some digital signature, just like it's someone could have a Picasso painting that looks absolutely real.
Yeah, you could have a print or a fake.
Someone could have a knockoff Picasso and someone have
Yep.
a real one, and the
Absolutely.
real one's worth more because it is real.
It's the only one.
But that doesn't mean that there isn't a duplicate that looks identical. But my question with that is just, I can't wrap my brain around that as far as a digital asset goes. Like I'd care about a real Picasso because it's a physical object that I'm hanging on a wall. I mean, I'd probably buy a fake.
You would never
anyway,
be able to own a Picasso.
but
You could own a print,
Yeah,
right? But you think about the person that actually, let's say, owns an actual Picasso.
Yeah.
What is that worth?
Yeah.
30 million?
Yeah, I don't know.
100 million?
Mhm.
Like I bet you if we looked it up, that's what it would be.
Yeah, something like that. But
Right. So now
I'm just trying to draw a comparison though between like, I don't know. I mean, the uniqueness
but
of it.
I think that's the comparison,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
I think that's exactly probably the thing that I was trying to get my head wrapped around too. My friend is kind of, aggressive and he goes headlong into things. And it worked out really well because he's early on stuff. And I'm probably technically, I'm just testing. I'm learning from him and I'm learning what it's all about. For me, it's exactly what you just said. There's only really one of those Picassos in the world. There can be forgeries. There can be duplicates. There can be prints. But none of them are as valuable as that one item that probably only one person in the whole world owns.
Mhm.
And it's the same concept.
Yeah, it is the same concept.
Absolutely. And I think it's a great opportunity for artists and creators of all kinds because what it lets them do is they don't need middlemen it's kind of distribution as well as a way to protect their work. So if you think about we kind of grew up with this Napster era where, music was on CDs and then suddenly it was on Napster and you can get anything you want. And we were, people were gorging on all this music, right? Okay, well, they figured out how to kind of protect it. The thing that failed was digital rights management. Complete failure at trying to protect music, right? The industry is dying. Well, now if you look at the music industry, they're using YouTube, they're using Spotify and streaming to monetize. What this probably does is if you have your own following on Instagram, which people have built, and then Twitch and then YouTube and all these other things, you're disintermediating these traditional gangster middlemen. That's
Yeah.
what they are.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's interesting about it. I am no expert in it, by the way. I don't tell anybody to do anything based upon it.
Yeah.
I'm just learning and testing and playing with it. It's interesting to me. It's intellectually interesting. So
Yeah. Yeah, I find it interesting as well. And and if it allows people to make money on art, that's great.
for creators, I think it's probably a really great thing. I mean, I think like anything, there'll be winners and not losers necessarily. I think it's just a new medium. The way I look at it is it's, there's this gap between when there was physical media like cassettes, and, we'd ripped off cassettes. Okay, let's go to CDs, much tougher to rip off, but then not impossible after a while. Then you had this wild west of just files flying everywhere. And they figured out how to kind of protect that with streaming. This probably takes it to another level, but it also probably empowers the artists themselves. That's what it seems like. Or it could be just, nonsense. I don't know. I'm doing it just out of intellectual curiosity.
Yeah.
What's interesting too is, to your point, there's a secondary market. So it's like people literally will buy these NFT things and then they'll put it immediately on the market.
Yeah. They'll just resell them. Yeah.
They'll resell them, right? So I don't know what'll happen with it. I'm just curious. I did it to learn. Some people are making money at it. I don't know anything about that though.
Yeah. I'll have to check it out. I don't know.
I just get really curious about technology, and I get really curious when I see trends. And And that's what's exciting, I think,
So do you have any Bitcoin or crypto?
I mean, everybody has a little bit. I'm definitely not big in that space. I've met some people that are big in that, but that's not me. Again, none of that is my thing normally, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
We probably spent a lot of time talking about it, but I think it's just because it's hot right now. It's like Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Clubhouse is new and Clubhouse is interesting in figuring it out. And, there's parts of it you don't love, but there's parts of it that are very unique, and it's probably coming at a unique, interesting time. So
yeah, the amount of notifications they put off, I had to turn it off immediately because it was just
Is it
insane.
crazy?
It was just, and I mentioned to someone else he's like, no, you're not kidding. He's like, one time I opened my phone and I accidentally clicked it, and like I was in a Clubhouse, and then the first thing I said was, oh fuck, because he was just like in a room talking.
And again, like I'm early but late. Like I see friends that have been aggressive on this stuff early, and they get 10, 20,000 followers in a very short amount of time.
I wish I'd have known about Clubhouse.
Look at how tough it is to do a podcast, right? Because it's such you go back to that YouTube thing, right? It's a later technology and it's got a specific algorithm, and you got to feed that algorithm a certain way, or you can just go in Clubhouse and talk. And people seem to join your room, and if they like what you say, they'll come back.
Yeah.
And they'll invite you to their Clubhouse, and it's kind of, so I'm just, again, that's another technology that's really early and interesting. And I think it comes at a good time because there's characteristics about it that are really exciting. One is that it is ground level. You could be in the room with famous people, but you're seeing, weird stuff come out of that culture too. But
like what? What kind of weird stuff?
You see rooms that are very, very controlled and contrived. You'll see a lot of verbal patterns from people. They're not actually having conversations, but they're, have you heard Reset the Room yet?
No.
You'll hear it.
What is it?
You'll be in a room and they have an official moderator. I think we have a moderator on this, right? Zach's on there. Yeah. And if there's a lot of people in the room, then Zach would go, okay, I think it's time to reset the room. And I think physically what they do is they pull the screen and it kind of re-scrambles the people that are on stage versus not on stage.
Okay.
And then they kind of say what the room's about. And then they say, go follow all the people in this room. And then people that go in there are already like forming formulas for what they should say. It's like, oh, I want to thank you for having this club. And, so it's kind of funny how that happens quickly.
Yeah. I've hardly used it. I opened it up and I jumped into a room. It was Jason Fried of Basecamp talking. I listened to him for a little bit. I love that company, and they always write books and stuff.
I like the books.
So
I don't know about the software.
I've tried it.
It was great 10 years ago.
I think it's still good because I like how simple it is, but it's really built for larger teams. Like their lowest plan is like $100 a month, and it's like if you got 6 people, you're wasting your money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they probably don't want you.
You're
not their demographic.
Yeah, you could just use Trello.
Trello's amazing. I love Trello.
Yeah, Trello's free. I mean, you can pay for
Atlassian, don't screw up Trello. I know you bought it, but it's wonderful. We love Trello.
Yeah, Trello is great. So what kind of rooms do you jump in on Clubhouse? Like, do you use it often?
I don't use it often, but I'm trying to make more of an effort because I recognize the fact that there are legitimate startup founders on there. There are legitimate people that are having the types of challenges that I can help solve. And I'm willing to talk to people and give them whatever direction is useful. And part of my mission with Founders Pack is to do that, right? So I think it's like, oh, this is actually good timing of a platform where I don't have to scrounge to find those people. They're already there and they're willing to share with me what they're working on. And that's what I like about it, just from that particular demographic. Also have a kind of a side hustle in hockey.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as a scout in hockey. And so we've been, a friend of mine who's on the East Coast with the Florida Junior Panthers, and then I work with a team in the WHL called the Everett Silvertips. We do a daily Monday to Friday hour-long podcast on hockey, what's going on mainly in the NHL, but not limited to that.
Cool.
It's the same grind, right? Like you're producing a lot of content, you're getting onesies and twosies and people that stick with you, and it's slow on Facebook, it's slow on YouTube. And you go into Clubhouse and it's like, oh, hey, I just met a whole bunch of people that are interested in this topic. It's a lot faster. So I think there's a benefit to being early. So I think it's not that I love it, but I recognize the value of that. The other interesting thing to me is there's no video.
Yeah.
And I think that people can have almost, if you really let them, have conversations in it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that it just makes the whole platform simpler, right? Because in order for them to do what they're doing, if you they just took stuff that's already been done and just said, let's just remove the video from it. I mean, kind of.
Well, there's less production needed.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of a good thing. Like we have to put a lot of effort
Will
into.
you turn your phone all the way down? I just don't want it to.
Down.
So
it was driving me nuts. It was like a little angel talking into my ear the whole time. I'm like, yes, I'm trying to say the right thing.
Yeah, because Clubhouse isn't really meant to be used like we're using it right now with the two people
Absolutely
in the same
not.
room. Yeah, it's supposed to be virtual.
We're totally screwing this whole thing up. But
yeah. So
sorry, Clubhouse.
So you've got some followers from it, and use it for podcasting.
I've met real people.
Yeah,
I think that's what's important to me is I've met real people that are trying to start real things and need help with stuff, or are interested in the topics that I'm interested in. I think that's what I love about it so far.
Okay.
I was initially interested in it from a technology point of view because there's a lot of people moving very rapidly to it, and they did some interesting things to grow it with the invitations, like the scarcity around access. They brought on a lot of influencers early, but since then, I think what's cool about it is I've met a lot of people, and they're working on stuff that I think I can help with, or that I'm interested in, and to me, that's the great part about it.
Yeah, I think it's really cool just the ability to drop in on those audio conversations, and I think it's really cool to be able to just, like, you can drop in on Jason Fried talking. Like, you get access to people and smart people.
The access. That's it.
It's really crazy.
Absolutely.
And neat. Yeah. So how do you, in podcasting, the new platform thing's good, and hopefully more new platforms come out, because you mentioned earlier, like podcasting doesn't fit the YouTube model. It's still good. It's still good to put your podcast on YouTube, but you just have to know that your expectations need to be kind of low there, because that's not really how people use it or as creators. And then 2, Facebook is just so bad now you have to buy your audience. Then you have to pay to get your audience.
Buy your audience and you pay for them to listen to you.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
And I see
very true. You hit it on the head.
Yeah. So and it's like, I'm just on Facebook because it's like just to cover all the bases, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And then Twitter's okay. I've always liked Twitter better than Facebook.
If you ever did a Venn diagram between the users of Yelp and Twitter,
what would come of it?
They're all right. The assholes are right there.
That's hilarious.
It's like a home for haters. It's just I don't love Twitter, but
yeah. And
when what I love is that the so-called media talks about Twitter like it's a person. Twitter said this. It's like, but consider the source.
Yeah.
It's a guy with a picture of his cat or something, and he's telling you his viewpoint.
I think I can't believe no one's made a new Facebook. I've been talking to people about this because Facebook's getting more and more buggy and more clunky and gross looking. The longer it goes on, I don't like it's out of control. It's just such
a machine, man. It's just crazy, right? Like,
yeah. So here's an idea I'm going to pitch at your Founders Pack.
What is it?
And someone's probably already came up with this before, but just redo Facebook at the simplest features, remove events, everything else at first, and just have a maximum of 50 friends. No one can have more than 50 friends. And just basically recreate Facebook, simplified version, max 50 friends. That's it. No ads ever. You pay $1 a month. Would people use it? I don't know. I'd rather use it.
I think so. Yeah. Obviously there's more, but I think it's an interesting idea. I think that if you look at the strategic direction of Facebook, what they've said, and which is why some people left the company, allegedly, was that the future of Facebook is about groups, and
that's the best thing to have going for them is groups.
Absolutely, and that's by design apparently.
And events is convenient.
Events are a subset typically of groups. I think is what they So I think we're all being directed into smaller community, like you're saying, as opposed to this loudspeaker thing. The algorithm already did that, where it's like, hey, you post something and only 25, 50 people see it.
Yeah, but I guess just
so now we realize, oh wait, that's why they were doing that.
Starting from scratch would just feel better, because then it's like, all right, now I'm following. For sure. I'm following these 20 people. I'm actually have a reason to want to open it and see, because I would really only add like my close friends here in Austin, and then and then some of my family members, and that's it.
I think that's the idea behind groups that they thought would happen, and it may or may not. And I think Messenger as well, like private Messenger, which is you have a chat group. It's more of a space with those closest people on a topic.
Yeah.
No, I'm not pitching for them. I'm just saying what they kind of recognize what you're saying too, right? Mm-hmm. They see the trends and the problems with it, and they've been tried before people to answer for things the last 2 years, probably, or 3 years. They probably are sick of it.
Yeah.
I don't think that anybody wants that. They just want to be a really big, successful, profitable company. It's like the ambition. I think that's their ambition. I don't know.
I don't actually mind targeted ads. Like this shirt that I'm wearing right now, and the company that makes these shirts, I found it through targeted ads on Facebook. And then I bought like 8 of their shirts, and they're only $20 a shirt, and I like their shirts. And I would never have seen that ad. And also
personalization of the ads.
Yeah, and some people hate it. I think it's good because people hear Facebook making the argument that you're attacking small business if you take away the ability to do targeted ads. And they see it coming from such a big company and they don't believe them. But like, I agree with that.
It's absolutely true. Yeah.
Facebook is a great place for small businesses to advertise
and
target to their audience. Otherwise, these people would not have been able to afford advertising.
Well, I think where they were brilliant was recognizing that, pay-per-click ads through Google and display ads through Google and search ads through Google were getting very, very expensive. And there was no real secondary market out there. It was like them and nobody else. And what they did is they didn't try to recreate that. They created something using their own attributes, which is what you described, and they have more tools for advertisers than anything. Like if you ever play with that platform, and I'm a horrible marketer and I'm a horrible marketing ad tech person necessarily, unless it's a platform. But if you look at the tools, you go, wow, there's a lot of capabilities for me to target and find people based upon a bunch of different possible outcomes and factors. It's like, oh, I can find people that are interested in the Joe Rogan podcast and show them an ad or an event for friends in Austin because I think those are my audience, right? Mm-hmm. So that at the very basic, I can take people that have opted into my email list and potentially find those people and make them an ad audience. Like all these little things. Oh, I can put a pixel on my website that if they go there, I can show them a different set of ads. So they really thought through a kind of a way for really smart marketing people to go in and use tools in different ways to create really cool campaigns, and they're very inexpensive. Really, when you look at it, it does affect small businesses, restaurants, like who apparently are enemy number one in the universe right now for some dumb reason. But restaurants, for example, the lowest margin business, but they can use Facebook ads very effectively to drive people into their restaurant and build following. That's just one obviously example, but I mean, if the business with the lowest margin of any business can use it profitably, pretty good deal. Yeah. It's interesting. Again, I'm intellectually interested in the technology more than anything than stumping for them or anything. I'm kind of neutral that way, but
yeah.
Is your technology cool?
See, I mean, I was critical of them, but I mean, I do think their advertising is decent and does enable small businesses to reach
absolutely.
People.
Totally. Doesn't mean I know what the heck to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some other smarter person would.
And I'm going to give a reminder for everyone to please subscribe to the podcast in your favorite podcast player. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button and subscribe, and then hit the bell, please. That helps. So
yeah, we got to tweak the algorithms, man.
Yeah, we got to tweak the algorithms.
They like to be fed those bells and subscribes.
Yeah, exactly. Comments. Some people do giveaways on comments because
that
shows engagement on your video. Then hopefully it gets recommended to more people. I've never done something like that, but I should.
God, we got to do these things we know. Jeez.
Yeah. So how do you feel about your podcast? You've been doing it for a while now. You said you're over 100 episodes.
I am, yeah. I love the people I meet. I love the conversations I get to have. It's given me access to some very interesting people and ideas, and that's
one of the biggest things.
I think that's my primary thing for me. It's selfish, right?
Yeah.
I'm a little bit self-indulgent that way, but
I feel like it's kind of a win-win starting a podcast. I mean, at the very least, you get to meet and talk to really cool people. One of my goals was to get better at networking, and like this was a great way to force it.
Yeah, great job. Everybody, look, it's Justin. He's your friend in Austin. Wait, what? That's my brand. That worked out. Yeah. No, exactly. You hit it on the head.
Cool.
And that's my motivation. Like, so, if you watch one of my episodes, did I ever once mention my name?
I don't recall. I listened to 2 of them today.
I was thinking about that the other day, and I'm like, I've never said this is Michael Devellano, the host of
Automate and Grow.
Never said it.
Yeah, I've had people tell me that I don't talk about myself enough on the podcast. Do. And when they said that to me, I was like, well, it's really about the people that come on the podcast. But then I thought about it more, and I was like, actually, they have a point, because like you're trying to build a brand around a podcast. And the reason you listen to podcasts is a lot of it is the host personality and the host. So I think it is good to like talk about yourself a little bit here and there, but also still make the podcast about the people that come on.
I guess so. Again, I'm weird. Like for me, that's not interesting.
Mm.
I know me and I don't need you to know me, but I think there's things out there that you would be interested in and that you should learn about. And if you take the time to listen, you're going to find some really crazy stuff. And sometimes you'll get to meet people through that I got to meet through that. And I think that's more interesting than anything. Like, to me, we're in a marketplace of ideas. And that's the way I think of everything that's going on around podcasting and Clubhouse and social media, is now you have a way to disintermediate. I don't have to go to 3 TV channels and beg to get on for 2 seconds. So you have the ability to promote ideas. You can promote yourself. You can promote stuff you're working on that you care about. To me, what I care about is there's some interesting ideas out there. Sometimes it's technology. Sometimes it's people that are working on important things. And to me, that's what I like to talk about. And I realized again the other day, I never ever once introduced myself to my own podcast, and I don't slap my name on it. It's a brand, Automate and Grow. And I deviate from that a little bit. I'm trying to make more of an effort, talk to SaaS founders and feature interesting tools and products, because that's stuff I do. But sometimes, I'll have like bioscientist or something on.
I think that's one thing that's hard about podcasting is, I don't know, you want to have a narrative or a theme.
Right.
But at first it's, developing that theme and then you got to find, then you're kind of pigeonholed too.
True.
But you want it to be, I guess, consistent so people know what to expect, but you also want to try having different guests and see how things go and stuff like that.
So, I mean, I've debated, because I've definitely indulged in, stuff that's outside of my theme.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm not saying is a bad thing.
No, but it is the issue that you're hitting, which is, okay, well, if you're not narrow and niche enough, then you won't necessarily maintain everybody's attention if that's what you're trying to get. So, you kind of go through this debate of, do I create a separate entity that's a separate podcast on ideas? And I've kind of thought about that. Haven't done anything about it. That's kind of the neat thing I think about Clubhouse, is you could just indulge in that on the fly without the production factor. So I think that's what's interesting about it, which probably prevents me from now going and, splitting effort and time between Automate and Grow, which I can increasingly focus on founders, problems they're solving, people they're helping, and, building cool tech. And if I want to do other stuff and indulge in the marketplace of ideas, I could probably use Clubhouse on the fly too. So
what's your specialty when it comes to consulting?
So I typically help companies with marketing, sales automation, support automation. So the book I wrote, Automate and Grow, which is what the podcast is named after, I really say you need 4 plans. You need a digital product plan. You need a traffic and conversion plan, a sales playbook, and a customer success roadmap. And the reason you care about that is mostly people are running out there buying tools or building technology because they have some pain point or problem. And then they end up with this really ugly baby. They're like, oh my God, the baby, it's not right. But that's because they didn't really think ahead of time about, what they were putting together. So what I try to say is, look, this is how I go in, listen to someone, ask the right questions, and figure out what you really should build or buy. So that's really what I try to help companies with. Founder-led businesses typically, but not limited to that. I do have a bit of a specialty in Salesforce as a platform, but I'm not limited to that by any means.
Do you know who Stephanie Herrera is?
I don't.
Okay.
That sounds familiar. I don't know why.
She's big in the Salesforce community. I had her on the podcast once.
Oh, cool.
She started the Salesforce Saturday movement.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah. Well,
no, they never invited me.
And then they pulled her up on stage with
Benioff.
Benioff pulled her up on stage.
Oh, cool. That's great.
And then kind of said, here's what she's doing. And then they were like, all right, you're done here. And then she was like, wait, hold on. No, I'm not. I want to talk about these other things that I'm doing. She
didn't want to get off the stage.
Well,
was she a dream?
She just wanted a chance to actually say something too. You know what I mean?
No, but this is a soundbite.
Yeah. They even made a little video about her.
That's cool. Yeah, Good for her. That's amazing. Yeah. It sounds very, very familiar. And I'm trying to think of why, but
anyway, I think your idea with Founders Pack is really good. So you said you wanted to make it a no equity incubator?
We'll add a no equity accelerator as part of it, which will probably be like really, we've put out a free startup and grow course. So anyone that's thinking of a scalable venture, you can just go sign up at founderspack.io, sign up for the startup and grow course, bunch of videos and some workbook stuff. And it just says, listen, in the end, what it boils down to is here's how you rapidly prototype and validate product ideas around SaaS or apps or other things. And here's some very tactical things you can do. So what I think the accelerator will be is a 6-week sprint of that. So if someone's like pre-seed, they're struggling with product, they're struggling with knowing if they should even build the thing, or if they have a team, it'll be an opportunity for some nominal amount of money, get weekly, daily help on rapidly prototype, building a product, getting access to new teams, and then going and pitching that before it's done to real customers.
Yeah.
And investors are fine, but I think in the end, I'm a little more hands-on. Like I want people to go out and get uncomfortable with, well, this thing's maybe not even built yet, but this is what I'm thinking. This is the mistake I see people make that's really, really painful. They'll go and they'll spend months or years building a tool, building a thing that they think is the thing, the end all things, and nobody buys.
Yeah.
Or they don't try and sell it.
It's a tough world.
It is. And I think what I would say is go in there and follow this really aggressive plan that's very capital efficient and decide in 6 weeks, is this a business or not? Do you go to the next step?
Yeah. And then if you find out it's not, you can move on to the next one.
Exactly. And I think that the biggest regrets and mistake I have are the things I didn't try or do, or the amount of time that I took to figure out that I should or should not have done something. And I think that's the biggest lesson that I take away. And I see people that go headlong and aggressive in that type of methodology, and they're the most successful. And, the thing that I think, one thing that can trip entrepreneurs is they tie their value and personality to the outcome of that thing. This idea is wrong or right, and this is what it looks like. And
when they should tie it more to, I want to build a product or service, and I want to focus on building something cool. It doesn't have to be this thing.
Actually, I think they should totally remove their personality and ego from it.
Okay.
Because I think that what they should validate is the idea.
Okay.
Because if they don't validate the idea, then they're evaluating themselves, and that may or may not work out. And I think that's just my observation, that when I talk to really successful entrepreneurs, they're very tactical, and yes, they are ambitious. However, if the thing fails, they'll go do another thing.
Yeah, I guess
You probably were thinking the same thing, but I'm just distinguishing
it's like don't get so attached to the idea. Sure, validate it, but like move on to the next one after that. If that one doesn't go.
Yeah, and I think my line to that is people get attached to the idea because they're equating their value to as the same thing as the idea.
Yeah.
So I'm saying separate these two things. You be a mad scientist, validate or invalidate it using your scientific method that we're going to kind of show you, and then you can adapt it to yourself. And if it's wrong, don't worry about it. That's just the experiment.
Mm-hmm.
That's not you as a human being.
Well, we're at an hour, and I think that's
God, really?
Yeah.
Did we hit on any points that we wanted to?
Is there anything you want to talk about in extra?
No, I love Austin. I love your podcast. I'm excited about it. I'm going to do whatever I can do to help you spread the good word. Thanks for people on Clubhouse that jumped on.
For sure. And I'm going to keep up with Founders Pack, and it's founderspack.io, right?
Correct. Yeah.
What is the best way for someone to get involved in Founders Pack? Just check it out and join in the next meeting, or
every Thursday we kind of do that Air Meet open happy hour. I've debated whether to keep it going, but I think I'm just going to keep it going. People seem to like it. So it's at 6:00 Austin time. You can just sign up, jump in. We do winner takes all pitch events. So if you're thinking you have a pre-seed or a seed stage startup and you want to have some fun and pitch your idea, it's winner takes all. So each of the startups we accept, you can apply at apply.founderspack.io, and you can submit, it's just a little Google form, and then you get to pitch 3 really cool judges usually, and it's recorded. And then we keep, it's just a good way to meet people too. And then, keep an eye out. We're going to at some point announce the No Equity Accelerator.
Cool. So what kind of people should be jumping into these? It could be anyone, right? It's like, you don't have to have a company right now. Nope. Maybe you're just interested in entrepreneurship in general, and you live in Austin. Is it worth to go check it out if you just have some interest? Okay.
Yeah, because listen, I think
well, I'm just saying that people might think that they have to like be at a certain place to even jump in. And it's like, no, you can just jump into these.
Well, I will say, like, the point of it is to help people that want to start scalable ventures.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are either looking to work with people like that, or you want to be that person, you'll meet other people like that. And that's what's going to make the group valuable. If you're just a fly in the wall and you're not doing anything interesting or contributing, then you probably won't enjoy it as much. But I think when people, if you're looking for a pretty awesome place to hang out and meet new people every week, it's a pretty good spot.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say, Michael?
No, thank you so much. I'm glad I got to come over and hang out, and I'm going to take down notes on all your microphone and all your setup so I can build my own studio shed in the back, and I'll invite you over and we can hang out there too.
Cool. I appreciate that. I'm glad you're living here, and I'm glad we've been hanging out lately. So hope to continue that.
Thanks so much, Justin.
Thank you.